Top of the lovely morning with Miss Vibrant, and I hope that you guys are gonna have a spectacular day, an awesome day, because I know I am. I know I am, okay? So, I recently came into the understanding that you cannot prompt change. I say that you can't activate change unless change prompts you. See how when you're buying something probably in a different app, you get an M-Pesa prompt. Probably you're buying data, you get an M-Pesa prompt. Once you get that prompt, then you take the necessary actions that is needed. That is the same thing with change. Some of the ways that change prompts you is you get fed up of some of the norms. There's just a disconnect from what you used to do and what you want to do. And that is change prompting you, okay? So this is to say, lest you get tired of the norm, lest you get, um, overwhelmed with being in the same place of stagnation, lest you get exhausted with the that is just me mentality, the it is what it is mentality. Well, you can never get a prompt from change, okay? One of my current dreams, I remember the author said something in the lines of limitation is a mentality, but often good people practice it until it becomes a reality. And this is what I got from it. For you to practice something for a very long time, then there had to be something prior to what you're practicing right now. This is to say, probably if I'm not wrong, half of the goals that you had at the beginning of this year, the things that you wanted to do, half of them are things that you have done before, things that you have mastered, responsibility and obligations over. These are things that you have achieved before, and you just want to go back to them, either because or for a variety of reasons that you stopped, participating or working for these things, whatever the reason. Somewhere along the way, you just fell off the wagon and probably going back up was an issue. So this is to say, you already have the capabilities, the mental strength, the mental discipline to be able to work or achieve this thing. It is just that probably you haven't set yourself up directly for success, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, you can't from change. When you're actually finally exhausted with the ordinary, with the normal, with what the world terms as it's okay. Because in case you haven't noticed it, the world is placing DOMs, and by DOMs I mean normalizing a lot of things that were not right. Then now I'm sure as I talk, probably something happened to you and the first thing you did was curse. Those of us who grew in African households know cursing was never a norm. We have turned it into a norm as we have grown up, okay? That is why you find it so easy when you say, mother, father, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, and you do not expect the person sitting across of you to find it offensive. I did not until I finally came to the understanding of a proper gentleman shouldn't curse around a lady. And I learned this the hard way. When a man I deemed my friend cursed me, straight up cursed me in front of my friends, in front of anything, and that did not settle right with me. And of course, you give a certain stink eye, and I'm like, child, you need to apologize. And when he didn't, he went ahead to say, be easy, be light, like that's a norm. It's not a norm. It's not a norm, okay? We did not growing up doing these things, and majority of the things that we are striving to participate in to make ourselves, fit in or be cool or be regarded as something, societal standards and everything. They don't benefit us, okay? They do not benefit us. If anything, it discredits us. Like, it lowers our capacities, it lowers our competence levels, because we both know in a business meeting you're not going to walk around casting anyone. So why do you want to make it a reality, a norm around people, around the people around you? It doesn't make any sense, okay? So the second thing I want to talk about is find ways to heal your body's nervous system. Time and again, I have spoken about how our bodies store trauma and PTSD, and this manifests in a lot of ways. But today, I am going to speak about the three modes of reactions from our body. In case of any type of situation, we either freeze, we either fight, or we flight. Okay, so depending on the presence or the lack of some certain things that are very significant to you, that is how you react to situation, and that is how you choose to experience certain situations, and that is either unconsciously or consciously. Okay, so an example is, if you are the type of person who you either flight or you fight. An example is, growing up, our first experience of the world is our immediate environment, and that dictates a lot of things, even how you are right now, knowingly and unknowingly. So I'm going to use an example of, if you grew up in an environment, or you are in a situation where emotional neglect is what runs that household, is what runs that situation, then you're the type of person who will either flight or fight. And this is what I mean. If your primary caregivers, most times than often as a child, when all you seeked for was, validation and understanding, you are met with constant criticism and contrast. This is what I mean by contrast. Probably you're being compared to your sister or the neighbor's child. The contrast come in. Probably the sister they are comparing you to, they do not treat you the same way as they treat you. Because that is another thing I'm also learning. Parents do not react to their children in the same way, like all of their children in the same way. And it's not a sad truth, but it is the truth. The same way you love all your friends, but you react to them individually in a different way. There is a way that you react to a particular part of you, probably the inner child, compared to how you will react to your present self or your future self. It is just the same dynamic. So contrast comes in who they are comparing you with, or who they are contrasting you to. It is not a leveled ground. Okay, so you always, the distance or that gap creates or informs the thought that love or validation or understanding is something that you have to work for, because you can always tell when there is a gap, when there is a contrast, but how your mind feels that gap is how you react to things. So if you either flight or you fight, and most of the time we flight because as soon as it's touch and go, with things are getting real, here and there, you choose, no, this is not for me today. Okay, so how you choose to react to a lot of things is probably either directly or indirectly correlated to how your upbringing or your current situation is like. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is again, in one of my current reads, the author says that most of us die in our 30s, but we are buried in our 80s. And this is what I understood from it. Probably at 18, you tried a business and it didn't work for a variety of reasons. One, you were young. Two, you probably did not have mentors, probably the capital, kuna tu vitu mingi zilikupiga chenga. But when that failed, the people around you did not pour empowering words in your cup. It was, we told you, nini na nini, I tried this. You just know how people can bring you down. So now you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 20s. You have all these ideas in your mind, but you don't want to act on them. Okay? So you let that imperfect experience dictate the rest of your fabulous future. Because what is a person without their goals, their visions, and their ambitions? So this is what the author meant by you dying in your 30s. You practically died in your 18s because you're no longer ruled or run by your goals, by your ambitions, by your ideas, because of that one imperfect thing that happened to you. Probably, your high school sweetheart broke your heart and now you're out here breaking people's heart, or you don't want to give love another chance. You were letting that imperfect experience dictate the trajectory of your entire life. And the things about having goals, visions, and ambitions, they dictate how you show up, how you present yourself, how you even articulate yourself to get opportunities or even to gain access in some of these big rooms, okay? And if you let those things dictate how you choose to show up, because if I choose not to show up at all, if I choose not to voice out my crazy ideas, because the first time I did it I was shut down, the first time I did it I was laughed at, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here because in high school it was you are a noisemaker, you talk too much. But at the same time, when opportunities of talking or representing the school, when it came to talking or speaking about things that affect high schools or Kenyan high schools, I was among the top picks in my school. So you see how comparison and contrast works. In one hand, they want to chop it down, they are degrading it, they're talking ill about it. But on the other hand, when it benefits them, they want to applaud it. They want to, um, appreciate it for whatever it happens. So, what I'm trying to say is, do not let that one imperfect experience dictate or change the trajectory of your life, okay? For those of us who have interacted with Candy Crush, when you have like one move left, that one perfect move, when you play that perfect move, the entire grid explodes and there is new fresh grid that is created from like the falling candies. And probably, not even probably, I am 100% sure that specific move that you feel that you cannot make it, you're afraid to make it, you have a variety of reasons as to why you wouldn't make that specific move. I am here to tell you that that specific move is what is going to guarantee a new grade for you, a new level of movement, a new level of access, a new level of honor, a new level of, self-respect, self-growth, a new level of experience, a new level of ambition, of vision, of ideas. You just have to make it. And we said in 2025, we are doing it scared, afraid, without information, without whatever. The best thing you can do for yourself is start, okay? Because an effort done is better than just reminiscing on the possibilities. I need you to fall in love with the journey. When you take the journey, you will never leave empty-handed. You might not get to your goal, but you will also not leave empty-handed. You will walk out of there with experience. You will walk out of there with knowledge. You will walk out of there with understanding. You will walk out of there with, connections. You might not get to the goal that you had set for yourself, but you have not also left with an empty cup. So you need to fall in love with the journey rather than being stuck in regrets, in not even the uncertainty, because that is regret. You have applauded so much for people who have taken the risk. That is enough. There is enough information, that is enough research for you to know that risk takers are the people who get their mouth fed. If you're not a risk taker, you cannot feed your mouth. Anywho, I enjoyed making this session, okay? And if this information is not for you, it could be for somebody close to you. So kindly like, share, comment, and subscribe, okay? I'll see you guys in our next session. Bye.